Welcome to the Mac and Chuck podcast with your hosts, Chuck Hill and Scott McKenzie.
Good evening, folks. How you doing tonight? Mac's a little wide-eyed this evening. You got some coffee in there, do you?
The taste of freedom.
Taste of freedom. Yeah. Got our Hodge twins thing going on tonight.
Sure.
How you doing tonight, Mac?
I'm here.
You're here, huh? How was your week?
It wasn't the best, but I survived.
Yeah? Yeah, I know it's been kind of a rough week for you. Appreciate you sharing that last week when you took care of the show.
Was that last week?
I think it was last week. Yeah, I think it's only been a week. I don't know that we've done... Has it been 2 weeks? No, I think it's only been 1 week.
Good Lord.
So, yeah, I know. Well, welcome to the show, folks. We're glad to have you here. We're doing something a little different tonight. We do have some more, some kind of cool information. We got DJ White out over here engineering for us.
Hello.
How you doing, DJ?
Dude, I'm doing dandy.
Thank
you for asking.
Nice.
Good evening, Mr. Out.
Mr. White out. So, good evening, Larry. How you doing there? Glad to have you on the show tonight. So we got a couple things we're doing tonight. We did a teaser earlier this week about doing some photo critiques, and we're gonna do a couple critiques for you guys tonight. We're actually gonna do a little bit of photography learning, and just so you know, tonight's show is actually brought to you by Purple Sky Productions, which
you cheap plugger.
Hey, you know what? Someone's got to sponsor the show, right?
And did you pay for that, or are you taking it out in trade?
Pay for it every month, Holmes.
Okay.
So, yeah, we just want to let you guys know that, like I said, tonight's show is Purple Sky Productions. You can go to purpleskyproductions.pro to check out some interesting. I'm always saying interesting. To check out what
I think you're doing it now on purpose.
Yeah, well, I've got to, make sure and drive it home for you and Miss Kimberly there. So, yep, Purple Sky Productions, family photography, senior photography, wedding photography, baby photography, pretty much for all your photography and many of your video needs. So check me out at purpleskyproductions.pro or facebook.com/purplesky-images, I think, actually. But you can check it out on my personal Facebook page also. Very reasonable rates. I'll get you taken care of.
What kind of video?
PG-13.
Yeah, you're no fun.
Yeah, I know. So Shelby says, hi from DJ Zebra Cake. As you guys know, Shelby sat in with us a couple weeks ago. And the funny story is she gets Zebra Cake because, as most of you know, Shelby is my daughter, and she is actually expecting, probably going to have another baby here in the next 2 weeks. So we're very excited about
Either that or she ate a really large watermelon.
Watermelon seeds. I kept telling them when they were kids, So, JC, I'd love to get together with you and set something up for you guys and get you taken care of real nice. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to take a look at a couple photos that a couple people sent in. We've got them uploaded. We're going to overlay the photos. We're going to take a look at them. I'm going to critique them a little bit. But one of the first things I want to do is a lot of people have asked me in the past to kind of go over some basic photography settings. So being as though that the show is being sponsored tonight by a photography business, I do want to kind of go over a couple things. The main thing I want to go over that a lot of people don't understand is the exposure triangle. You get a new camera and it's not a point and shoot, and it's got all these really crazy looking buttons on it, right? And you're not quite sure what they do. You've got everything from an AV to a TV to a P to an M to a bulb, and it's just all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And
Was that English?
That was English, actually.
Okay, I'm just
That was
asking.
photographer ease.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So some of the stuff we're going to be just kind of looking at tonight is going to be some pretty elementary things. If you would like to know more information about that, I'm always happy to meet with you and talk with you and just kind of give you some private training one-on-one.
For a price, right?
Well, it just depends. I mean, for the most part.
And for everybody listening, whatever Chuck quotes you, I will quote you $5 less.
Sweet. Just remember, you get what you pay for, folks. That $5 may be worth it. So anyway, what I want to go over with you guys real quick is I just kind of wanted to, so particularly around Christmas time, Mother's Day, things like that, a lot of people will get, or Father's Day, a lot of people get new cameras, right? Mac, what kind of camera you have? I know you got one. Do you have something besides your phone?
No.
Okay. So,
you were wrong, sir. You were wrong.
I am wrong. DJ, if you'd go to the comments real quick, just in case people have questions, I'd like to be able to answer those. So Shelby says 4 to 6 weeks. Hopefully she's not hoping for an early one. So basically what we're going to talk about tonight is, so what I have here is a, what's called a full frame DSLR. And that's probably the first two things we're going to tackle. And the primary thing is a crop sensor camera versus a full frame camera. And so what I have right here, this is actually a Canon. I'm a Canon shooter. And it's okay if you're not. Everyone, has the right to be wrong. And so I have a Canon camera here with an 50 millimeter f1.8 lens. Now, when I say f1.8, Mac, what do you think? The eyes are real big on you. So
he understood 3 of the 45 words you just said.
I understood the numbers.
Along with the rest of the audience.
So for some of you, I tell you what, I'm just going to do some brief explaining, and you guys ask me any questions that you have. And I am by no means a 100% complete know everything about cameras and that, but I'm going to impart some of my limited knowledge onto you guys, and hopefully will help you a little bit. But when I talk about an f1.8 lens, the F stands for the f-stop of the lens, or some lens, well, not some, all lenses have what's called an iris on the inside, and it's kind of backwards because the bigger or the more open that iris is, you get the lower the number. Plus, not only that, but that's how a lot of people get those blurry, nice, blurry, creamy shots in the background. You get a real sharp in. Maybe I shouldn't use the word creamy.
Thank you.
But you get some really nice bokeh, or some people call it bokeh, in the background. You get like the out of focus lights and a really sharp image in front. And so an f1.8 lens will help you get that, or what's called a wide open lens or a fast lens. And the reason they're called fast lenses is because the wider that you can open your aperture up, then the faster the shutter speed can go, and you can still get light into the sensor on your camera. So we're going to, it is a short range lens. So, when we talk about aperture, that's actually one of the things I was talking about earlier with the exposure triangle. So there are 3 basic elements to exposing an image properly. One is your aperture, and most apertures go to about 1.2. Those are some pretty expensive lenses. They do have some that go to a 0.95.
Angie says, "Hi, Eric."
So, we have that going on. And so, and then when you stop down your aperture, some of them go up to 32, most are around 22. And basically what that does is your aperture kind of controls what's called your depth of field. So it controls the light going into your camera, and it also controls what's in focus and what's not in focus. So sometimes when you're using a DSLR, and DSLR stands for digital single lens reflex, basically means you can switch lenses out on your camera as opposed to a point and shoot. Mac, have you ever used anything besides your phone or a point and shoot camera?
I used to have a digital handheld camera that I took a lot of pictures and videos on that thing. That was pretty cool. There's an SD pulling around with some pretty funny videos of Shelby. I can't find it anywhere though.
Yeah, well,
last camera I used was one of those disposable, Fujifilm ones that you take to
Sure.
like Walmart and drop in the bag.
Sure. But I mean, those cameras are actually pretty cool little cameras because there's really not a whole lot to it. Shelby, I have not done the darkroom development. I got involved in all of this with the digital age actually, and I've been doing this probably about Shelby's 22, so about 22 years since she was born. So anyway, so back to the lenses and the exposure triangle. Basically, the aperture is really key because it controls a couple things. It controls light coming into your camera, but not only that, it also controls what's in focus and what's not and how deep. So here's a quick tip for you guys. If you're taking pictures of more than one person, you typically never want to shoot at a wide open aperture of 1.8. You more want to shoot around an f8.0 to make sure you're getting everybody in focus, because sometimes you have people standing in front and sometimes people standing in back.
Yes, Mac.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the novice terms, please? Because you lost me at 1.685421.
I lost you at 8675301.
Yeah. 301. What was that? Jenny's wrong number?
309.
Oh.
So okay, yeah. So again, the aperture ranges everything is depending on how wide the iris of the lens is open up. So if you look inside of a lens, you'll see little blades, little black blades, and those open up and close down. And the reason it's called an iris is because it works much the same way that your own iris does in your own eye. Have you ever turned the lights off and turned them on real quick and looked at your face in the mirror to see the iris of your eye open up or close down? You ever done anything like that?
Maybe as a child, but
Well, sure.
I don't put that on the top 5 things to do on a night, on the list.
Maybe top 15.
Top 10. So anyway, that's why it's called an iris. And depending on how wide the iris is open is the number of what I called f-stop that you used earlier. Again, the f-stop determines how much light is gets into your camera, and it also determines how much of your person is in focus. So there's that. Garen, I'm thinking that's you, G-Fire. You say Polaroid. Polaroid is actually, they're really cool the way that they work, and they're really good disposable camera, or really good cameras to use, especially if you're looking for that instant gratification. And interestingly enough, Polaroid is actually making a comeback, even with the advent of cell phones and things like that, because a lot of people do want actual prints in their hands. So
a lot of things are becoming a lot, with the nostalgia and everything. There's a lot of things that are circling back around to being popular again.
Yes, that's very true. So anyway, so back to the exposure triangle aperture. That's a big one right there. That's really going to kind of determine a lot of what's in focus when it comes to shooting portraits and things like that. Something else that people look at is shutter speed. So how many of you have taken a picture before and someone's running real fast, but they're super blurry and you can't figure out, why are they blurry? Should my camera be keeping up with this? Shutter speed also allows light into your camera, but a lot of times you'll use shutter speed to freeze action. So sometimes when you'll have a dancer or you're shooting sports or something like that, and they jump up into the air and you just want to capture that moment while they're in the air, right? Well, that's where your shutter speed comes into play, because the faster your shutter speed, the quicker you can freeze the action that's going on within your camera. And just a quick note, all of this I'm talking without a flash. So none of this is dealing with using a flash or anything like that. That's a completely different topic and subject that we will cover at some point. So there's that. Shutter speed, when you want to freeze, shutter speed is usually measured in hundredths or thousandths of a second. When you want to freeze action, 1/200th of a second is really kind of your sweet spot. Sometimes you might want to go a little faster than that, depending on the light that's outside. If it's really bright out, you might even get up to 1/1000th of a second in shutter speed. That's pretty fast. So anyway, that's kind of the second one that we look at, and then the other one is remember back in the film days, Mac, when you pick up film and it had numbers on there like 100, 200, 400, 800 and things like that.
You mean on the little envelope?
Not on the envelope really, but like when you would buy a roll of film, it would have a number on there that said, like the speed of the film would be 100 or 400.
Vaguely.
So that's another key component, and that's really huge when it comes to wedding photographers. And that's basically on the speed of your film and how sensitive it is to light. An interesting fact about that, though, is as you get higher up in the numbers, you start introducing what's called, back in the day, it was called film grain. Now it's just called noise. And you ever seen a picture that's kind of dark, but it's got a bunch of little colored speckles in it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really kind of where that comes from. Basically, the more light that you're letting in and the longer the exposure, the more noise or the more film grain you're going to have in there. Obviously, within Kim, interestingly enough, no kidding. So, the noise is basically, that's what the little dots are. Black and white film, obviously there's no color information in that. So basically what you're getting is just, what they call monochromatic noise, which basically it means it's kind of all within the same color frame, right? So if you've got a black and white photo, you're just going to have black and white noise or black and white spots, right?
So, you're jumping.
So now that I've kind of blown your mind a little bit with all that jargon, I'm going to just kind of quickly go over again, just kind of summarize your exposure triangle is basically your film speed, which is ISO, your shutter speed, which is the speed that the shutter is moving at, and then also the aperture on your camera. So those are three main important things. If you're just getting started into photography, I would highly recommend watching a couple of people, Tony Northrup and Chelsea Northrup. I would definitely check that couple out. They have a great deal to teach about photography and things like that. And then also I would check out Peter McKinnon. He's fantastic. He's got a whole lot of tutorials and things like that he can show you. And then also there's a guy on there, really funny name, Potato Jet. It's kind of a funny I know, right? It's kind of a funny name, but the guy really knows what he's talking about. And you're going to hear those three terms a lot. You're going to hear shutter speed. You're going to hear ISO. You're going to hear aperture. You're going to hear wide open. You're going to hear closed down. The next thing I want to go to is basically I want to go over some settings on your camera. So when you guys get your new cameras, whether it's for your birthday or whether it's for your Mother's Day or Christmas or whatever, you're going to see some settings on there that are going to be a little confusing. What I would really suggest that you guys do is play around with the settings. And there's a setting called auto. Take your camera off of it. Screw some things up. Take your camera off auto and then play around with the settings that I was talking about earlier, the aperture. Play around with the settings, with your ISO. The lower light situations that you're in, you're going to need a higher ISO. You're going to need a faster shutter, or slower shutter speed, and you're going to need kind of a faster aperture. But what I'm going to take a look at here is on your camera, and I'm going to try and show you guys some of these. So the primary setting that I go in, you might be able to see that. Let's see. Can you see that? Anyway, there's an M on there. Can you see that, Mac? Can you see that? So M stands for manual, and manual is pretty much what it says. It means that you're in total control of your camera. Like you're controlling everything, and literally the camera is only doing what you tell it to do. So that's where you go in to control things like your shutter speed. You're going to control your ISO. You're going to control your aperture, things like that. Lisa says she's shuttering. So, that's really where you're going to control that at. And I tell people a lot to use the autofocus on your camera or on your lens. The autofocus is really going to save you a lot of time unless you have extremely sharp eyes and you're very fast with your fingers. Canon, I have found, has got a really great autofocus system. Sony has actually been developing their cameras for quite some time now, and they are really kicking it up here in the game as far as, what did I miss here? Sony, is really stepping up as far as their production and that. So Nikon, still a great camera. Olympus, good camera. Fujifilm cameras, they're more of the what's called prosumer end, and they're more of the crop sensor cameras or smaller frame sensors. And I'll explain that here in just a bit. Something to really look forward to, I know. So the next thing that I'm going to look at on your camera is called, on Canon, it's known as AV.
I think some firearms have been fired over at Scott's house.
What's going on over there, Mac?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. And so the next thing we're going to look at here is AV, which is aperture priority. And basically that just means that you're going to control the aperture of your lens, and then the camera's going to control everything else. The camera's going to control your shutter speed, and it could control your ISO, but basically the camera's going to do everything except. Do you hear that? Am I the only one who hears that?
What are you hearing?
I'm hearing a TV or something.
Tristan, turn it down.
So we're looking here. So that's AV. The other one is TV on Canons, which is shutter priority. So basically, that means that you're going to control the shutter speed, and then your camera is going to control everything else beside that. Camera could control the ISO. It's going to control the aperture, things like that, to expose the best picture that you possibly could get. And then the other one that's on here is called P for program. Now, the nice thing is a lot of people in the film days, you'd get a negative. Okay, when you're shooting in manual, most of the times your camera is going to shoot what's called RAW. RAW is just another word for a digital negative. So basically that's going to
What's
give you...
a digital negative?
A digital negative is exactly what it says. Instead of the dark room that you would go into with film, you actually play around in Photoshop or what's called Lightroom, seeing as though it's digital. So you can actually go in and it gives you much more control over your images when you're editing.
That makes me wonder what a darkroom is.
Darkroom is used for film. So yeah, when in the film days, when you have a dark room, and they would typically use chemicals and a red light, things like that. You don't have to do that these days, particularly when you have the Lightroom software and everything is digital. So anyway, when you're shooting in manual, I always encourage people to shoot RAW because RAW will give you much more control over your images when you're editing them. Sometimes you may have an image that came out too dark. So if you're shooting in RAW, you can actually go in and funny. You can actually go in and brighten up your darks, and you can get more detail out of your images when you're shooting in a RAW format. All that being said, that's just kind of a quick but non-quick overview of your camera. And so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go and critique a couple images, and we're going to look at these images, and I'm just going to kind of give some feedback on them. Mac, I'd like to get your feedback on these also. And DJ Whiteout, get yours.
It's gonna be a very very amateur.
But you know what?
Critique.
Most people who look at images are not photographers. So what I'm interested to know from you and you, DJ Whiteout, is just basically what kind of emotion or thought that the image provokes, and then we'll kind of go through it, and you can tell me kind of why you think that, and then I'll give you my feedback on it. And then I'll give constructive criticism on the images.
Could you feedback my feedback after I feedback Mac's feedback?
I could totally feedback all that feedback.
There's too much
as
feedback.
long as I don't get any feedback. So the images that were submitted, I was actually asked to give like extreme criticism on there and just rip them apart. So I probably won't do that, but I will give honest criticism on them and honest feedback. When you're submitting your images to photography groups, which I actually strongly encourage everyone, if you're into photography or starting into photography, join a bunch of groups. There's a bunch of them here in the St. Louis area you can join. They're really great. There's actually a photography studio called Studio 858. These guys are great. No, they're not sponsoring or whatever, but I've shot out there before. Thursday nights at 6 o'clock. It's also St. Louis Photography Association. Check these guys out. Go see them Thursday nights. They have everything set up with lights. They've got many different backgrounds and many different scenes that you can shoot with. And Ed Krim over there gives great feedback on your images, and it's $20. So it's really not that bad. I believe if you pay for a whole month at a time, you get a considerable break on that. There are models that you will work with. Some are beginning models, some are trained models, some are professional models. And a lot of the photographers there also will give you feedback as well. So I strongly encourage you to get involved in the photography community. You're just going to learn so much from that. All right, Mac, you ready to look at some photos? All right, let's take a look at the first one called Fishing. DJ, you want to pop that up there? No, that would be the bridge.
Fishing.
Okay, so here we have a picture, and all these were submitted by Jesse Tedder. Jesse, thank you for submitting your photos. And if you guys are interested in me critiquing your photos or getting some feedback on them, please feel free to send them still to macchuck2020@gmail.com, or you can message me directly with them. So, Mac, when you look at this picture, we've got, looks like a tugboat, fishing pole. Got some water there.
That's a trash barge.
Is that a trash barge?
It is.
All right. So when you
It's
see
a really
this,
beautiful trash barge.
so when you see this image, does it provoke any type of emotion for you? Does it give you any kind of thought, or what do you think when you see this image?
It doesn't have pictures normally don't evoke much emotion. I do notice the pink hues on the coast, the shoreline there.
Okay. All right. DJ,
I mean, if you really want to know, if you want my initial reaction, I guess that's the first thing I notice.
the PQs on the sand there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, DJ.
It reminds me
Here we go.
of a beautiful 26 minutes.
A beautiful 26 minutes. Awesome.
That's
What?
it reminds me of.
He's talking about how long we've been doing the show now.
Good Lord.
I think it's a nice picture. You know, it's got the lighting's not too shabby on it. There's no real depth of field effects going on too much. It's just a straightforward picture. It's like a picture you would see if it were like an oil painting or something like that.
Here, I think I have a title of this. Relaxation in everyday life.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the comments. See what some of our viewers have said.
Shelby said it makes her think of a nap.
And bird noises.
And bird noises. Okay. All right. So when I look at this picture, basically what I see is it's a nice picture. I do get the feeling of warmthness. You know, the color on the beach. Mac, I agree with you. You know, it's kind of warm, kind of inviting. Shelby, I actually agree with you a little bit. You know, I mean, it reminds me of kind of a lazy day at the river. Just, fishing, relaxing, and taking it easy. The only thing that I would really say about this image is I would probably punch up the colors a little bit. So you can do that in Photoshop or in Lightroom, whichever you're doing. I would punch up the colors just a little bit, Jesse, and then maybe instead of the fishing pole being right dead center, I would probably compose it a little differently. I would maybe move the fishing pole off to the left a little bit, into the left 2/3 of the image. And really, that's kind of all I would think about it. I really like the clouds. The crop, I probably would have left a little bit differently. But no, I like the image all around. Again, I would probably just punch up the colors a little bit on it, particularly the blues and the reds, and that would give it more of a welcoming feeling, I think. DJ, let's go to the next image. Okay, so this one, I know, right? Where are we at? So, this one is titled Pouring Floor. So when I see this image, I think of the steel mill. I think of Granite City. That's what I think of, being where I'm at, and having grown up here. Mac, how about yourself?
Hot, very hot.
Okay. And is that primarily because of the colors, you think?
No, it's because of the fire I'm seeing in the smoke.
DJ Whiteout, how about yourself?
I think it really says something about the inflation rates of Venezuela right now. I think this perfectly describes You know what? No, actually, you know what? This really reminds me more of the triangle of exposure. I feel like, you
The
know what I
exposure
mean?
triangle.
The exposure triangle, yeah. Because I bet his flammable snatch isn't completely calibrated to the right dimendium discs in his camera, so his retina can see the actual pixelation negative films of the
I think someone's about to
subject.
lose their mind.
I'm starting to wonder here because for us people that don't know anything, that almost sounded like he was making sense. I don't know.
So Shelby says it makes her think of a house fire or a scary movie right before a slasher scene. So Shelby, it's interesting that you say that, because while it doesn't remind me of a slasher scene, it is a very dramatic image. So when I look at this image, Amy says she likes the perspective of the beams against the smoke. That's a really, really great point, Amy, because the leading lines in the image are leading somewhere. So they're coming from the upper right 2/3 into the center of the image, and it's kind of leading you into where the pouring floor is, where the light is coming up. So that's a really good point. And that's something that you want to think about when you're taking pictures. Is the leading lines. What's the image saying? Like, what are you trying to communicate into the image? I see this image and I think very hard workers. I see this image, I think dramatic. I do think hot because of the colors that are in it. I think it's very well composed. The only thing I would say about this particular image is I probably would have shot this in a landscape mode as opposed to a portrait mode, because I think it would have captured more of the environment. And I think that it would have, the leading lines that are in there would have just been a little bit longer. And I think the image would have been a little more balanced. I do like the dramatics of the image. I like the high contrast of the image. I think that's done very well. So Jesse, very good job on this image. I like it. To me, it just really says drama. It says danger. It says just extreme. So I really like this image.
I'm gonna butt in here and say, and this is just because of personal preference, how would that look in a black and white setting?
So that's a really good point.
Because I really like those.
Right. And so in the black and white setting, this image, I don't know that it would work with the contrast that it's at right now. Primarily because if you look at the lower 2/3 of the image, it's all black. There's not a whole lot of detail in that. And I think that a black and white image, unless it's got just a little less contrast in it, might not convey the message, because you wouldn't see the heat. I don't think that you would feel the danger in the image if it were a black and white image. Does that make sense to you?
Maybe I don't want to feel the danger in the image.
Well, then maybe you just don't want to see the image.
Fine.
Okay, so Jesse, that's the only criticism I would give to this image. I do like it. I like the leading lines, but I probably would have shot this in more of a landscape mode as opposed to a portrait mode. I think it would have more effect. I think you would get more of the environment in the shot. All right, here we go. Turkey time. So now you guys will like it because you get to see none of us and you get to see all the turkey. So this one is actually called Thanksgiving. So by the way, Bill, so Bill says, I'm almost sound like Mrs. Weiss. He's almost impressed. I actually take that, as a compliment. I really liked Miss Weiss as a teacher. Alan, go back to the comments real quick, if you would, because Shelby made a comment on the last image that says she makes it feel, go ahead and show it up there, like it'd be hard to breathe in a room. And that's awesome that you get that feeling from this image. So Jesse, great job on that, on conveying that emotion and doing that. We look at this image. Now I see this, I think, obviously Thanksgiving, that's what it's called. I think presidential pardons for some reason. Mac, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think the turkey's saying, why is this guy so close with the camera?
That's quite possible.
I mean, just look at the look on the turkey's face. It's like, can I help you with something?
Is you crazy?
That too. Oh, Kim.
Kim says this picture reminds her of her mother. All right, then.
Well, that came out of nowhere.
So when I'm looking at this picture, DJ, what do you think of it?
I think that turkey's really mad, man.
Yeah, well, I think
That's
Angie's
what I
going to get a
And
point.
if this
I
is
mean,
Thanksgiving, if this is Thanksgiving, that turkey's not going to be looking mad much longer.
yeah, I think Angie's got a point. It's like he's mad because he's about to be eaten. Could be a girl turkey. I don't know. I'm not sure quite how to differentiate.
Let me interject something. Don't the turkey necks, and I know that's not the proper word, the turkey necks fill with blood and red when they're agitated, or am I wrong in that aspect? I know something about how they fill with blood whenever they get ready to expand because of stress or some kind of
like protective reaction.
right. I don't know. I just thought I remember that, and I noticed that too.
Yeah, I'm not real sure. But you know who could answer that? The folks out at Happy Trails Farm. They could definitely answer that for us. So, you know, if you guys have any questions, you could definitely hit them up. Or if you ever head out there, right behind Granite City, or right behind Walmart in Granite City, great little place to get away. But they've got turkeys out there also, and peacocks and everything else. So they could definitely tell you how to, tell the difference in turkeys. Amy says that she just loves the detail. You can see in the gobbler or whatever it's called.
I call the gobbler. It works for me.
Hey, gobbler works for me until we find out differently. Angie said it tasted good either way. So I'm going to be honest. When I see this particular picture, it really doesn't do a whole lot for me. I feel that the composition is off on it. The detail could probably be a little more clear on the feathers in that. I do like the expression on the turkey's eye. What I would like to see in this picture is I would actually like to see more of the turkey, or maybe the turkey at a different angle. When you shoot from a lower angle, and I get it's a turkey, it's probably hard to get pretty low, but when you shoot at a lower angle higher up, it gives more of a feeling of power into the image. This right here, to me, I look at it and it just looks like an annoyed turkey. So
isn't that what I said?
That's exactly what you said. And so see, we're in agreement on that. Stephanie, she says, well, tastes good next to my mashed potatoes and sweet tater pie. Stephanie, I'm right behind you. And Kim says she likes to pick the way it's shot. So that's awesome. You know,
I think if the turkey had a cowboy head, it would look a little bit better.
Cowboy.
That's my expert criticism.
Yeah, expert.
Well, that's what are you hoping for? The scream. So, but yeah, I would probably show more of the turkey, maybe a different angle of the turkey. I would really be interested to know, Jesse, when you took the shot, just kind of, you know, what you were hoping to accomplish in this particular image. So let's head on to the next image. So this image of a bee. So, and I'm a big insect fan. I like pictures of insects, things like that. DJ, if you would please go to a full screen layout on this.
We have some breaking news from Mac and Chuck Corporate. Scott's currently getting mauled by a dog. Oh, he just stopped.
Now the dog's busy doing other things. Let's go back to the bee image, and if you would maximize the screen, go over to the left. Nope. Go to the right. All the way to the right of the actual bee picture. Go up. Right now, you see a little square right below there.
Okay.
There you go. All right. So now when I look at this picture of the bee, bees are hard to get, and there's actually some pretty good detail. And this is a difficult shot for anyone to get, to be honest with you, especially when they're flying through the air. But I really love the detail in the wings. Mac, what are your thoughts on it?
I don't know. Number one, how they got a still picture of a bee like that.
Alan, what do you, or DJ? What
It takes a pretty steady hand, I think.
It does. It absolutely does. DJ, what are your thoughts?
I agree with Mac. It's not easy getting a picture of a bee like that.
Yeah.
Especially seeing the whole wing like that, you know?
Yes. I like the detail in the wing. So when I look at this, and without knowing what type of camera it was shot on, what I'm seeing is there. Remember we talked about aperture earlier in the exposure triangle? So what I'm seeing here is a pretty wide open aperture, because see how the entire background is blurred out? That's what's going to happen when you use a really, you know, low aperture such as 1.8, 2.8, 2.8, things like that. And then also with the steady hands, the shutter speed comes into play here also, because to get a shot like this, you need a very fast shutter speed or you need extremely steady hands. But a shot like this in particular, the shutter speed is where it's key, because that bee's wings are flapping super, super fast. It's almost like when you're trying to shoot a hummingbird or something along those lines. So I really do like this picture. Again, the only critique is I would actually maybe crop this a little bit, because I would love to see the bee over to the right of the picture as opposed to the left, because it looks like the bee's about to exit the picture. So when you're talking composition and things like that, that's what I would look at. Is just maybe composition. However, Jesse, great job on this image. I really like it. I like the detail in the wing. I think it just really captures nature. Even though it's inside a house, I think it just really captures the essence of this image. And DJ Whiteout, if you want to go to the outside of it, you can exit to full screen on that one. And then if you want to go to our next, let's see what the other people say here. So Shelby loves it. Kimberly Burns Pearson says killers. Remember the murder hornets when they were supposed to come out, Kim? Angie says this is a great pick. Angie, I agree with you. We've got Shelby says she loves how focused it is on the bee. She wants to put it in her house. There you go, Jesse. You might have a cell there. Angie asked, you want a bee in her house? Angie, I think she just wants the picture in her house. And, you know, it would make a great, like, maybe kitchen tile picture or a squared picture or something like that. So I think we may have lost Mac. I'm not sure. So let's go to the next picture.
Next picture coming your way.
So here we have, this is a picture of Trina, Jesse's wife. Very good picture. I love the composition on this picture. It's a really nice image. Let's go ahead and DJ, what are your thoughts on this one?
The lighting is really excellent.
Okay, nice, even lighting. I would agree with you on there. There he is.
Sorry about that. I'm having camera difficulties. It's plugged in, but it's dead.
You're fine. You're fine. So, Mac, when you take a look at this image, what do you think?
Probably peaceful.
Peaceful. Okay. Yeah, she looks like she's really just
probably warmth.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can see you get that. Very serene. I would agree with that. So what I'm seeing here also is a very even lighting. I love the lighting on this, and I love how her face is shaded. It's very even. She's looking very peaceful. Bill says this is the best one he's seen so far. Angie says it's her favorite. I really do like this image. I don't know that I would change anything in this particular image, Jesse, to be honest with you. This looks like a very tender moment between you and your wife. Shelby says it makes her think of commercials. That's awesome. But no, I think
one of those ones you wouldn't expect, kind of like a, the side effects of this medication.
So no, Jesse, this is a fantastic image, and this is probably one that if I were you, I would definitely print and hang on your wall. And Stephanie's comment says it captures the emotion with nature and how the wind catches her hair. I agree. Like, this is one of those moments where timing was everything, but sometimes you can't necessarily predict it. But this is a really great picture. I really like this picture. The composition is great. The placing of her hand is great. The whole image just kind of leads to the right of the image, and it's focused. It's focused perfectly. Great job, Jesse. Angie says you can tell this one was shot with love. I would agree with that. And that's one of the great things about photography when you're shooting images like this, is that you can really see. Hold on. Go and drop the image. Go and pull the image down for a minute, Alan. So, you can, when you're looking at things like this, you can actually tell that the person who's taking the picture cares. And that's what emotion is when you're talking photography. and you're looking at someone, you're looking whether it's a portrait or whether it's just a pic or just kind of a solitary moment that you want to keep and treasure forever. And that's kind of the whole point of photography. I do believe that people should live in a moment, but there's always time to snap a picture or in this case, a portrait, and just really capture a person's essence, because that's something that as we get older and as we age, sometimes we can't do the things that we used to do. Portraits really help convey and help us remember not just who we were, but who our grandparents were, what kind of people they were when they grew up or as they were growing up, things along those lines. So that's one of the reasons I think photography is very important. And I'll get this out of the way. The best camera that you're ever going to have is the one that's in your hand at the time that you need it. It doesn't matter if it's a cell phone. It doesn't matter if it's a $10,000 camera or a $50 point and shoot camera. Those things don't really matter. What matters is that you can capture a moment when you need to capture the moment and you need to remember it.
In my opinion, I think some of the best shots are candid ones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not the planned one. I think some of the best emotion, as you used earlier, some of the best images you can get are the most candid ones.
I would agree,
because that's just life. You know, you're not setting it up. You're not, it's spontaneous.
Right. And I would agree 100%. I think that there's a time for candids, and I think there's a time for formal portraits as well. Because not everyone can have. Sometimes you just don't have everybody there when you need them, right? So formal portraits are nice for historical reasons. I'm not sure if you guys know, but with Ancestry.com, you can actually upload images of your family. And it's really nice because some of the images I've seen have been of like very, very old images. And it just kind of lets me visualize who some of my ancestors were. And I think that's key and very important to knowing our history. Plus, it's nice to know that we can connect and like maybe we look like certain people or things like that. So I think that's very, there's the time for as you mentioned, planned portraits or something along those lines. I also think that, the candid shots really are the best ones. DJ, can you bring up those comments? Let's take a look at that real quick. So Shelby says candid photos are a favorite because it's all them, not staged or anything, just them and their personality. I think that's completely accurate, Shelby. And that's one of the reasons that I actually like cell phones as a photographer, because again, the best camera that you could ever have is the one that's in your hand when you need it. And it doesn't matter if it's a cell phone or again, a $10,000 camera. So let's take a look at, I think we've got a couple other pictures to look at. Okay, so here we have, looks like Low-Water Dam around dusk. I like the colors. Mac, what are your thoughts on this one?
I just love sunset pictures because there's so many different colors.
Okay. All right. Do you feel that it provokes any kind of emotion, or does it remind you of anything?
It's like a sunset on a summer day.
Okay. Amy says, ooh, pretty. I agree, Amy. It's a very pretty image.
It kind of looks like it's over at Shoto Island.
It looks like it was taken down on Low-Water Dam is where it was taken. I could be wrong, but taking a look at it, having been down there a couple times.
I would say you're correct.
Okay. So Shelby says it makes her think of heaven. Angie says it's pretty. And then Sandy Stopcotty, she says, nice. So it is a good image. I really, really like this image. I don't have a lot of critique on this one at all. It's one I would be proud of. If I were to make any kind of editing on it, I would probably maybe punch the colors a little bit. If I were going to get this printed, I would probably actually have this one printed either on glass or I would have this printed on a metallic frame, because I think it would just really help the colors push through the image. And I think it would really help shine the image through quite a bit. Maybe bring up the shadows just a bit to bring a little more detail into the lower left-hand the lower left-hand corner of this image. But other than that, I think it's a great image, Jesse. Good job. Lisa says that she thinks of Scott because we were down there, and that's a great point also, Lisa, about photographs and landscape photography in particular. Landscape and the creation of God can be just absolutely stunning. And Alan, go ahead and pull the picture down for me, if you would, please. It's actual, it can be very stunning. It can be very memorable, and a lot of landscape photography does that. And that's a really good point, because for you, Lisa, that image is personal. You didn't take the image, but it's still a personal connection for you. And it may even be something that you would maybe hang on the wall or something like that. So I think that's really good. And that's one of the great things about photography also, is it's not always just about what I see, but it's about what others see also, particularly when you're taking pictures or photographs of popular places, things like that. Sandy says great memories. So Jesse, when you took this picture, it wasn't just for you. It may have been for you, but other people are enjoying this picture. And that's what I would say to encourage others who are looking to get into photography, is to just really think for a minute, what memories are you sharing with other people, and what memories are you allowing other people to enjoy with you? So yeah, really great job, Jesse. Matt, do you have any comments on that image?
No.
Nope, you're good, huh?
Well, I made my comments on it earlier.
I liked the detail of the clouds.
Yeah. So when you're shooting a landscape, remember earlier we were talking about the exposure triangle? When you're shooting a landscape, you always want to have your aperture down really low, probably around f11, f16 to 22, right around there. But just keep in mind, now here's where you can get some really cool shots, is you get your aperture really low. We're talking the f22, and then you keep your shutter speed open for a little bit longer. Maybe you set your shutter speed up at about 1/60th, maybe 1/30th of a second. And what happens is sometimes you can get that blur and that movement and that motion and those really silky looking clouds in the background, or sometimes you get that really silky looking look on water. But play around with your images a little bit, and you'll be able to get those shots. So all right, I think we got one more image, DJ.
I think that was all of them.
Why don't you pop that bridge one up? Yeah, let's look at the bridge one. So
that wouldn't have been taken by any host over there, would it have?
No, that was not my image. Mac,
again, it's a sunset. It shows history. It's just to me, the first thing I think of is the historical aspect of it with the bridge.
Okay, so yeah, that looks like the Illinois side of the Chain of Rocks Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So, we do have one more image to look at after this one, I believe. So when I look at this image, I get serenity from it. DJ, what do you think of it?
I agree. It's really calming. I think that was taken at Choteau Island, at the Chain of Rocks Bridge.
Yeah, so it looks like another image taken down there at Low-Water Dam, though. And Low-Water Dam is right there off on Choteau Island. Like, it's right there at the edge of Choteau Island, right there at the Mississippi River. So I do like this image quite a bit.
For all the hip kids out there, we call it the barrels. The
barrels? Is that what it's called now?
Yeah, it's where all the teenagers go to
do their thing.
Do their thing.
Okay.
Do their thing.
So I do like the image. The suggestion I would give on this, Jesse, is it to me, and it could be the screen. DJ, could you make that a full screen for me so I can take a closer look at this particular image? So when I look at this image, I really like that you got the flood towers there in it. What I would like to see is, instead of it being centered right there, I would really like to see this image more move to the left. So we're getting kind of those leading lines that we were talking about in the earlier images of the pouring floor we saw. I'd really like to see these leading lines kind of leading more toward the left of the image, and then maybe just a little sharper. To me, it looks a little blurry. That could be my screen, Mac. Are you kind of seeing that also, or are you getting a sharp image? So when I'm looking at this image, I'm seeing, like I said, I'd like to see it a little more to the left, using that left 2/3. And then also what I would like to see is just a little bit more sharpness. And the easiest way to do that, Jesse, would be to take your aperture, maybe open it up just a little bit and put a faster shutter speed on there. Having this being taken around dusk, I would say you would probably have to keep your ISO probably around 800, depending on how your camera works, and using a faster shutter speed. And I think that would probably help you keep this a little more in focus. I would also I'm not sure if you use the autofocus or not on this. I would focus on the flood tower there, and then just a little bit sharper. It's really about all I would suggest. And then I think we have one more, the apple blossom image. Let's get some comments on there. So Stephanie says she loves the sunset and the way the bridge is on the water. Now, I do like the reflection. That's a good point, Stephanie. That's a really good point. So Angie says, focus on the water, details on the laps and very clear, was the bridge and tower a little more blurry. So I would agree, Angie. I think that the focus does need to be on the bridge, or at very least on the tower itself, and then kind of let the bridge come out of focus as it gets a little closer. And then I think there was one more called Apple Blossom 1. Okay, we saw that one.
No, that was all the.
That was all of them?
That was all of them.
All right. So, Jesse, I definitely appreciate you sending your images into you. Mac, what was your overall opinion of the images that were taken?
And I'm kind of distracted right now.
His dog loved him.
I see that.
She wanted to come on and say her piece also.
Well, bring it on.
I would like to hear Mac's dog's opinion on the exposure triangle.
She's shunning you right now, just so you know. No,
Go ahead.
No, I think that they, to me, I don't have any kind of expert opinion on them. I just think they meant something to the people that took them, and I think that's the most important thing that can't be lost in all this.
Sure. And it could be everything from memories to just catching a moment in time. And I agree with that. I mean, with the photography groups that I'm in, a lot of people, they'll submit their images for critique, and then there's no purpose behind them. To give a true critique, sometimes you have to know what the intent behind the image was. So I agree. I think that if you're happy with the image and it's what you're looking for, then it's a perfect image, regardless of the technical aspects of it. Anything I've been saying tonight has been, what kind of emotion does it give to me? What are some of the technical looks of it? Strictly my point of view critique, not a point of view from the photographer. So, Mac, that's a great point.
Just my 2 cents.
No, and your 2 cents is worth $2 to me. I appreciate it. And I'm sure Jesse appreciates it also, because you made a very valid point. So when you're looking to get into photography and you're looking to have your photos critiqued and things like that, I encouraged people earlier to make sure that you get involved in photography groups. You're going to see things. I'm just going to tell you a couple things you're going to see. First of all, you're going to see some jerks out there that have they've been doing it for 20 years. They think they know everything, and they can't, and they just really hate the newbies, or so to speak. Don't let that get you down. Don't let that discourage you or anything like that. You're also going to see people talking about CC1 through CC4E, and basically it's constructive criticism, and then it's the different levels. And you'll have people that come on and say, I want just light and easy constructive criticism because I don't want to feel like crap over my images, which is more than fine. And then you have people say, I want you to just take a hammer and beat the hell out of me over my images. And it's like, you're going to see something like CC4E. And personally, I think that's a little uncalled for. I think if you're going to ask for constructive criticism, let people know exactly what you want. If you want to improve on what you want to improve. But I do encourage you to join these groups. Check out St. Louis Photography Association, Studio 858, and get involved with those guys. I used to shoot with them for a while, and it was really fun to do. The models are great to work with. The other photographers are great to work with, and it's a wealth of It's a wealth of knowledge, and you're really not going to get much better or much cheaper advice on that kind of level than $20. So I think with that being said, we've got some more news concerning the Mac and Chuck show that we've got coming up over the course of the next couple of weeks. We had a production meeting last week. Me, Mac, and DJ Whiteout got together and just kind of talked about the direction of the show, just kind of where it's going to go and what we're thinking. And we talked about the different roles that we're each going to play. So hopefully moving forward, we're going to be able to bring you guys a much more quality content show, a much more robust show with more information that's pertinent to what you want to hear and what you want to see. And Mac, you want to touch on that just a little bit?
I think my internet's being sketchy, so I'll let you go for now.
We do have a couple nice things coming up. Be on the lookout in the next couple weeks. We're going to be starting our own Patreon. So if you wanted to pop in, donate for the show, help out our cause, we'd be much appreciated. We're doing all this for free for you guys, and we hope you really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's a good point. The show does come at a cost. We do pay a cost. We enjoy doing it. We hope you guys enjoy watching it, especially our loyal viewers and our loyal listeners. Thank you so much. The Patreon, the show is always going to be free to you guys. It's not going to cost you anything to watch the show. But if you want to support us, whether, with whatever, that would be great. It goes into account to pay the bills to run the show. That's about it. If you'd like to sponsor a show, we'd love to have you guys, come on and sponsor a show. You can either sponsor the whole show or you can sponsor 15-minute increments. Just reach out to myself, Mac, or DJ Whiteout, or to the show itself. We have established that DJ Whiteout is actually going to be our official producer of the show. So he is actually going to be the one that will be reaching out to people or interview requests and things like that. Mac and I will kind of both be, working that as well. We've had a couple people reach out to us in local government to interact with them on the show. And so what we've decided to do is take the show to a much more, DJ, if you wouldn't throw that'd be great. What we've decided to do is we're going to keep the show at more of a local, regional level right now. And then so we also want to make sure that we're keeping things pertinent and we're keeping things key to what you guys want to see. So we want to do that, and then also we want to make sure that we're bringing you the information you want to see. Again, we have some things coming up with some local government that we're really looking forward to bringing to you. And then again, we're going to keep it regional. Then we may branch out a little bit, and we may kind of start looking into like the Metro East until we kind of can gain a following of pertinent information. But we're going to keep it your show, and I think that's the main point that we all want to make right now is that it'll be your show still. I think with that being said, let's say Amy says it was lovely. Thanks. Very well done. Amy, thank you. We appreciate that. And we appreciate you coming on tonight and appreciate you just supporting us and by watching us. Bill says he's got artwork to get back to, but he's happy to admit that this was rather enjoyable. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that. We could use all the encouragement that you guys give us. Thank you very much. But with that being said, I don't think I've got anything else going on tonight for you guys. How about you, Mac? You look at
I don't know. Can you still see me?
Oh yeah.
Am I max headrooming it?
You're
I'm
coming
having
in
trouble
fine.
deciding which pixel you are, but I can see you.
Okay, fair enough.
So Sandy says that she hopes that we can show more current events and local happenings. Okay, we definitely.
All I can tell you is I'm looking forward to Tuesday.
Yes, me too. So if you guys are praying people, pray for us, pray for the show. We've got a big opportunity here. Thanks, Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
We appreciate
it.
Just keep the show, in your prayers, because we'd love to keep doing this. Well, we're going to keep doing it. And we got some pretty big things that we're really excited about. We can't quite share the news yet until some things are official. But do stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed to the Mac and Chuck channel on YouTube, you can do that at macandchuck.com.
Do it.
Right now, we've got a little over 200 followers on Facebook. We'd love to get to 1,000 on YouTube. So go there, subscribe, like it, share it. Just you can't share it enough, trust me. And we really appreciate your support.
So you Ed Bartles and James it again, huh? Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support. Yes, Sandy, we are streaming it. It streams on Facebook like we're doing now, and we're actually streaming right now live on YouTube as well. So if you guys don't have any other questions or comments or anything like that, I think we're going to put this one in the books. Mac, what do you think?
Hang on. I got to look at something first.
All right. Well, while Mac's taking a look at that, again, we appreciate you guys watching, and kick us some more comments. We've got another comment right here. Kick us some more comments and let us know what you guys would like to see on a regular basis.
Frank Bartles and Ed James. That's what the name was.
There you go. So Sandy says the City Hall thing. Sandy, all I can really say about that right now is that we are working on that and trying to see how we can help support that here in town. Angie, peace out. Love the fact that you dropped in tonight. Thanks. And so we're hoping to get some more news to you guys on that here soon. Thanks for staying local, folks. Thanks for shopping local. And I think with that, have a great week, and thanks for joining the show tonight.
If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with wanting to be on the Mac and Chuck podcast, please email MacChuck2020@gmail.com.